It's currently 68 degrees out there, and your WHBC 24/7 AccuWeather forecast shapes up like this. Today, sunny and pleasant with a high of 82. That would make you sunny and pleasant, wouldn't it? Tonight, clear to partly cloudy with a low of 60 degrees, and tomorrow, sunny again with a stray shower, likely a high of 74 degrees. You're listening to The Ron Ponder Show, and yes, we're going to return back a little bit later on in our program to the subject of the Middle East. We're going to talk about Governor Mitt Romney's response and responses to his response. But right now, we're going to turn our attention a little closer to home. It's very convenient to put a stamp on a letter and drop it off at your local post office and expect it to be delivered. You've got so many options on how it can be delivered the next day, 2 days, 3 days, or whatever. But there's a budget crunch in Washington, D.C. that we're all familiar with. There's been some discussions about eliminating postal service. There's been discussions about maybe no Saturday deliveries, maybe closing some post offices in locations like Canton. And in fact, that conversation has been going on. To help us understand where that is, we brought two people in today. Carmine Russo, former president of the local Postal Services Union. He's now District Advisory Committee member for Employee Assistance. And Mary DiFincenzo. Did I say that right, Mary?
Yes. Yes.
Welcome to our program, both of you.
Thank you.
Carmine, let's start with you. How many post offices are there in this area? And what are the projections on closing any of them, if there are some?
Well, we have 7 city post offices, and the Canton plant delivers to 74 associate offices. So we're looking at about 80 offices that are delivered out of the Canton main post office. And
are any of those scheduled to close?
Well, we don't have closings, but over 2 weeks ago, I became aware that North Industry Post Office, which is down south here by Canton South, and East Canton, we're looking to reduce hours. The Postal Service didn't notify the townships. The Postal Service employees found out with a posting that management had put up in both offices stating the hours would be reduced to half, from 9 to 1.
So now, what does that mean? I mean, is that going to save money? Well, are they doing it? I'm assuming they're doing it to save money.
Well, you would think that would be, and I'm sure, Ron, most of your people that have listened, everybody's tired of hearing about the pre-funding and our finances, and I get all that. But if this is the case, I don't understand to close or reduce the hours to half on 2 offices that are generating revenue. I mean, you can't arbitrarily close offices that are generating. North Industry generates over $250,000 a year. I won't speak to the rent on that, but it's minuscule compared. East Canton does about $120,000 a year. To close these offices at 1, you're going to lose all your box mail customers. I just spoke to the clerk today down at North Industry this morning, and she has already lost some box mail customers because the doors will be locked at 1. They won't keep the box section open for the customers to get their mail.
So now, Carmine, is it Carmine or
Carmine.
Carmine. Yeah. Who is it that makes these decisions? Where in the hierarchy of the Postal Service do these decisions come from?
And I don't want to speak poorly of my company. I enjoy working for the post office, but these decisions are being made in headquarters, and they're arbitrarily, I believe, just saying, okay, we got to cut X amount of dollars. They're not looking, someone is not looking from headquarters at these offices individually to see what generated revenue there is. You know, when we're hurting for revenue, it doesn't make sense to cut offices that are generating revenue for you.
Are there offices that aren't generating revenue?
As far as I can't speak. Yeah, I can't speak to, because I researched these 2 offices, so I can't speak to. I know that some are. I don't really want to speak to. Yeah, I hadn't researched it enough to. But these 2 are generating revenue. These 2.
In your mind, if they could find 2 offices that weren't generating revenue, should they be the ones that's cut? If you got to cut something,
I'm not going to put my head in the sand, and I understand the situation the Postal Service is in. If you got a post office on 2 different corners and one is generating, it's not making the rent, whatever the case might be, we're not generating revenue. I understand that there is some streamlining and cuts that need to be made. I have a problem with this type of revenue that's being generated in offices, and you're not looking beyond the fact that we just got to, arbitrarily, these are the ones we're going to close.
Carmine Russo from the Postal Service Union. Mary DiVincenzo.
Right, correct.
And Mary, you're retired from the post office, right?
Yes, for 3 years.
And what is your role here?
My role, I cannot believe it. Being a window clerk, as I was, it was always, as any business, it's always upscale. You got to push products. For us, it was P.O. boxes. It's make money. That was our bottom line. We got to make money. So now when they're closing these post offices at 1 o'clock that make so much money, I can't understand why they're doing this. We need to save jobs. This is not the way to go about it.
Okay. Now, what about the argument that in this day of email, in this day of competition from FedEx and other ground carriers like that, that the Postal Service, the operations of the Postal Service are antiquated, top-heavy, and not making money?
Well, Ron, I could tell you we are top-heavy. But as far as email, that's only accounting for about 3% of the loss in business. And every time we lose some letter mail, which is 44 cents, they never take into account, we do a great number of our business, a great amount of our business is parcels, priority, that you've seen the commercials, pay one price for your priority boxes. I mean,
right.
We have really, it's taken off, in those areas. So to say, we're down, economy is what causes us the down drop. We're in the... we're in the advertising business now. When the economy is bad, we do poorly. Okay, but what I want to say is, the specifics of. I didn't want to get into the political ramifications and get into off track here. But the bottom line is, we have 2 generated offices that are generating revenue, and to cut their hours in half, customers are going to go up the street and decide they're going to get upset. They're going to go up the street and they're going to use UPS because they got 24-hour boxes and they can get their box there. When I spoke to Ron, I spoke to the 3 townships, Honestburg, Canton Township, and East Canton. Osnaburg.
I like saying that word.
Osnaburg. I do too, and I keep saying it incorrectly. But I spoke to them. They were writing letters, each one. Now, as of yesterday, Mr. Renace's office, I spoke to them. They have only received a letter from Canton Township. And they're waiting. I talked to the mayor's office in East Canton today. They'll be mailing their letter out today. But these reduction in hours will be taking effect on Monday. Sorry for the short notice, but as I said, we became aware 2 weeks ago. At least I did. But they all passed motions to stop this and. This 4-hour reduction in hours. And most of our business at these 2 facilities is done afternoon. So we're just,
So they're taking 2 post offices that are making money.
Right.
In the afternoons.
Correct.
Closing them in the afternoons.
Right.
Okay.
And might I say, Ron, as I said earlier, East Canton and North Industry both signed leases. East Canton's lease was signed on 9/11, and it runs till August of 16. North Industries was signed in July of 11.
So they're not closing?
There's
they're going to remain there.
So you're going to remain. They're not going to reduce the rent in these 2 offices, so we're going to pay the rent. The problem or the issue that I made the mayor in East Canton know is there is an out clause in the East Canton post office's lease, which if the Postal Service writes a letter to the landlord, they can close that office with 30 days notice. So the North Industry Post Office, there is no out clause.
Okay. Carmine Russo and also Mary DiVincenzo. I want to thank you for being a guest today.
Thank you.
Hopefully something can be happening there. But you said earlier that you recognize that the Postal Service is top heavy, right?
Yes.
Do you recommend somebody go in there and start cutting management?
Why not?
Oh, put you on the spot there.
You did put me on the spot because they could cut some here locally also.
Yeah, you came back with an answer. I appreciate that. When you get fired, call me, okay?
All right. Got to call my congressman.
Yeah, depends on which one it is after November. You're listening to the Ron Ponder Show. And speaking of congressmen, there's a debate about debates. And I've got statements from both camps. We're going to see, based on those statements, where the problem is, if we can, and what are the possibilities of them still having a debate here in Stark County.